So today we're going to be talking about multiplying and dividing integers. And if you are in Spillman's class, this has to do with the learning goal that you should be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers, which I'm sure makes sense. When we're multiplying two integers together, there's basically two rules to keep in mind, and I'm going to give you the long version of the rule and then the short version of the rule. So the long version of the rule says that the product of two integers with the same sign is positive. And we know that product means the answer to a multiplication problem. So we are multiplying two integers together if they have the same sign, and we know that that answer is going to be positive. If we have the product of two integers with different signs, that answer is going to be negative. So again, if the signs are different, the answer is going to be negative. The short version of these rules says that if you have the same signs, your answer is going to be positive. If you have different signs, your answer is going to be negative. And that's really what you want to keep in mind, just those two things. Same signs, positive, different signs, negative. So if we're looking at multiplying two numbers together, such as 3 times 2, I can look at those two, I can see that the signs are the same, and so that tells me that my answer is going to be positive. So I'm going to do 3 times 2, which is 6, and I'm going to get a positive 6 for my answer. If I look at this second problem, I have negative 3 times 2. I have different signs. This one's negative, this one's positive. I'm still going to multiply 3 times 2 together to get 6, but my answer will be negative 6. Here I look and I see that I have a positive and a negative as I'm multiplying these two together. So again, I have two different signs, which means that my answer is going to be negative. And with the last one, I have negative 3 times negative 2. Two negatives multiplied together have the same sign, so the product will be positive. These examples are just dealing with 3 numbers instead of 2. So I'd like you to take a look at this first problem here, negative 2 times negative 4 times 3, and think about whether you think that's going to have a positive answer or a negative answer. Now take a look at this second problem, negative 2 times negative 4 times negative 3. Is that answer going to be positive or negative? All right, let's look at this first problem. Negative 2 times negative 4 times 3. So I'm going to do first negative 2 times negative 4. Those two numbers have the same sign. So the product of those two numbers is going to be positive. Negative 2 times negative 4 is going to be a positive 8. Then I'm going to take that positive 8 and I'm going to multiply that by a positive 3. Again, I have two numbers with the same sign, a positive times a positive. So 8 times 3 is going to give me 24. So my final answer, my product, will be 24. With this second problem down here, I'm going to do this, start out the same way, negative 2 times negative 4. I have two numbers, two integers with the same sign, and their product will be positive. So negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. And then I'm going to take that positive 8 and multiply that by negative 3. So now I have two numbers with different signs. Positive 8 times a negative 3, and that's going to give me a negative answer, negative 24. Notice that the number part doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the sign. Okay, this is a vocabulary term that's in your book, inverse operations. And inverse operations are basically operations that undo each other. So if I take 3 times 2, I get 6. If I want to undo that, I'm going to do 6 divided by 2, and I'll get back to my original answer of 3. So multiplying and dividing are inverse operations of each other. They undo each other. What that tells me is that division is a lot like multiplication. So when I'm dividing two integers, basically I have the exact same rules as when I'm multiplying. And so we just need to keep the same thing in mind. Same signs. If I have the two signs the same, my quotient, since this is a division problem, is going to be positive. If I have different signs, one sign negative and one sign positive, my quotient is going to be negative. So exactly the same as for multiplication. So the problem says a hiker descends 360 feet in 60 minutes. How fast did the hiker travel down the hill? So the problem is asking for the speed of the hiker going down the hill. So we want to figure out how many feet did they travel in 1 minute, feet per minute, and that will give me my speed. And I also noticed that it says that the hiker descends 360 feet, and so that tells me that I should use a negative number. So I am going to write out the problem. The hiker went negative 360 feet since they're descending, and they did that in 60 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 60, and that's going to tell me how fast they traveled in 1 minute. So 360, and I should probably include labels here, feet divided by 60 minutes. I have a negative divided by a positive. So I know that my quotient here is going to be negative because my signs are different. And then I just need to do 360 divided by 60. So 360 divided by 60 is the same as 36 divided by 6, which is 6. So we went negative 6 feet per 1 minute. So my speed is negative 6 feet per minute. And just to sum up again then, when you're multiplying or dividing two integers, we just have to keep these two rules in mind. If you have two numbers with the same signs, your product or quotient will be positive, and if you have two numbers with different signs, your product or quotient will be negative. Here's your free response question. Please pause the video and answer the question in the form. Now pause the video again to answer the multiple choice question.